Hello, and welcome to the Real-Esteem podcast. Today is September the 3rd, 2018. I'm your host, Patrick Tabor, and today on the Identity Edition, we're going to talk about cycles. If you'd like to hear any of our previous podcasts or get a copy of our book, Real-Esteem, Finding Your True Identity in Christ, please visit us at enith.com, www.eyniith.com. So today in our Sunday school lesson for the young adults, I was able to speak about the creation, the things that God created at the very beginning, when he created light, when he created the land and the sea, animals in the sea, things like that. And we had an interesting conversation because we talked about the different things that God made, mammals, the different land animals, sea animals. We were kind of just baffled by some of the responses we got from some of the young adults about, what was the largest, what were they capable of, just things like that, which ones were weird. But interesting, out of all that, we realized that life was a cycle. And with that being said, we found out that even in your life, we deal with cycles, whether they be good or bad. There's some cycles, though, that we need to break. And you can't have cycles that kind of run your life. You need to break those cycles that are hindering you or harming you from moving forward in life. So in Ecclesiastes 1, 3, and 5, it says, "What do people gain from all their work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth lasts forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, and then it rushes back to the place where it will rise again." So that sounds like a cycle to me that just continues on. And imagine if that's the cycle of your life. So you have a bad experience and you do not learn from that experience or situation and you repeat it. And then you go through the same process again later, feeling terrible about making the decision for the second time, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. I mean, however many times it's going to take you to realize that I may need to stop this behavior or this cycle from continuing. So in 2 Corinthians 10, 3 and 5, it says, "Though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not made or not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds." A cycle is like a stronghold. You have to break that circle somewhere so that it does not continue. Verse 5 says, "We would destroy arguments, every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ." So the first thing is you have to hear the word. And then whatever that word is for your life that's going to help you break that cycle, you have to take that negative thought, that thought of continuing, that thought of, "Oh, I'll get it right this time. Oh, it won't happen again. Oh, they didn't mean anything by it." You've got to stop the cycle there and take every thought captive that thought that's hindering you, that thought that is keeping that cycle going, is putting you back on that roller coaster. You notice most roller coasters go all the way around and they come right back to their beginning in 30 seconds. You really just spent 30 seconds going in a circle. However many twists and turns or flips you did, you still end up at the same place. You don't want that to be the case in your life. So just remember, we have to take every thought captive and make it obey Christ. In other words, when God tells you that this is going to be bad for you, take or heed that advice and ignore the feeling or the desire to go back through that again. You have to take that thought captive, and you should be in control of it, not allow that thought or those feelings to control you. Ephesians 2 and 8 says, "For by grace you were saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God." So here you have this opportunity. Once you were saved by grace, not by your own abilities, you have to realize that it is a gift of God. God gave it to you. So even in the process of breaking cycles, you need his help. We all need his help. Sometimes that is one of the main issues, is that we let our pride or mindset or this, we think we have the ability to solve every issue that we're faced. We alone cannot solve the majority of these issues. We need help. We need God's help. His word helps us, but he also lends a helping hand at times to help us get through certain circumstances. So going back to the Sunday school lesson, interesting enough, we had a discussion about how rain is formed and, its purpose. And we talked about how the sea, the rivers, the streams, ponds, and lakes all have water that is evaporated into the air. And once that water is evaporated up into the sky, they form the clouds, which, over time build up so much so that they have to release that rain or precipitation back onto the earth, sometimes in a different location. So interesting enough, if you really think about it, that's a cycle. It's a consistent cycle because sooner or later it's going to rain. And that water had to come from somewhere below to a higher level, and then it had to rain down on the earth again. So what I did was I used this as an example to help them understand that your life and your identity is so important, that you know who you are, so that you're not tricked or moved or disrupted or distracted in that cycle of life, that cycle of getting things done, that cycle of accomplishing the things that God set before you, that cycle of being able to actually bless people. So picture this. If you are the water that is being pulled up through evaporation from the earth, and as that process of evaporation happens, you get distracted or redirected towards something else where you're providing for someone or something that really is not your destiny, is really not God's intention for you, is really not helpful or beneficial to you at all. You've been redirected. You never reach the point where you're in the sky as a cloud and can come down and actually bless or rain on somebody else, rain blessing down on somebody else. And the other thing is, you never get back to the point where you get to rejuvenate back in the water source. So here again, the enemy always wants to break the cycle. He wants to keep He wants to keep the cycle in your life continuing. You have to break those cycles that are not benefiting you. If your process is being redirected and it's benefiting somebody else so much so, but it's never benefiting you, you have to question, hey, when am I ever going to get back to the point where I'm able to release and help and bless someone else and be rejuvenated or restored back to what I need to be so that I can create this process or go through this process again that's going to be beneficial. All cycles are not bad. Some cycles are very beneficial to your call or your destiny. But if you're being redirected by something that is unnecessary, that is a distraction, that is not a benefit to you, then you're actually losing. You're losing your destiny. You're losing your goals. You're losing your path. We have to stay focused on the narrow path, not the wide. The narrow path leads to life. The wide path leads to death. And that wide path is like that distraction that gets us off track in this cycle where we're actually able to produce and bless others. So just remember, don't let anything identify you without you knowing what your identity is first. If somebody tries to identify you and you know who you are, you'll know whether they're lying to you or not. So I hope you got something out of this today. Be blessed. Grace and peace.